Then I'm happy to introduce our dear partner, Norad, and Liv Marte Nordhaug, which will be our first speaker.
Thank you. I will try to be really brief and catch up with our agenda, if I can manage, because I really think now that it's time to get down to business. We have been doing a lot of mapping, and we've been doing a lot of sourcing of ideas from a lot of you guys who are here. And I think most of you here are quite curious now about how we will proceed from here. So I won't spend too much time talking about what has happened. Jesper, he mentioned the history of Vision 2030 briefly. I work in Norad, which is the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, as project manager for innovation. Norad has been involved in Vision 2030 since the beginning. It was announced by the Minister of Foreign Affairs already late 2014, together with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education. And the idea was to try to find out more about which innovative approaches that could contribute to SDG 3 and 4, Sustainable Development Goals for Health and Education, that existed among Norwegian-based stakeholders from the private sector, from academic institutions, and also from non-governmental institutions. Jesper mentioned a lot of what has happened since then. We got a lot of interest already from the beginning, which led to this funding mechanism being announced. And Norad was tasked with actually setting up the funding mechanism. What we did see in our dialogue with various types of stakeholders was that there isn't really one approach or one type of funding instrument that can capture all types of innovation projects or innovative approaches. You can have some products that may have a commercial potential, but you can also have innovative ideas that can, change government standards or guidelines in a given sector in the country that may not have a commercial potential at all, but could have a large development impact potential. And so we saw that we needed to try to have as flexible an approach as possible that can also capture a wide range of partnerships. And by partnerships, we don't only mean partnerships between Norwegian-based stakeholders, but we definitely mean partnerships with actors on the ground in the countries we're talking about. So, this is not meant as a Norwegian-only mechanism. But we do believe that there are lots of good innovative approaches that are actually based in Norwegian, among Norwegian stakeholders, but they need to also combine these approaches with partnerships on the ground. So as Jesper mentioned, we did launch an outline call or call for innovation sketches in December. We received 125 calls, and I believe all of you here, or many of you, have been involved in these sketches. For those of you who were not, do not worry, it's not too late. But the outlines were really important for us to decide on the thematic priorities, the goals for this call, and also for our reflections among how to design the actual funding instruments. So the main calls have now been announced, and as Jesper said, and I won't spend any time on this, there are calls from the Norwegian Research Council, too, and there's also one from Innovation Norway. And you'll have all of these presented in much more detail afterwards. I think we should, pause just for 1 second to actually look at the goals, because even though these may seem quite wide, which they are still quite a bit more narrow than SDG 3 and 4. And these goals are derived from the outlines we have received. They are based on, we saw that there were combinations, or sometimes we had clusters around topics, or we also saw that there were some value chains that were illustrated through various types of outlines. So there's a lot of work involved in arriving at these goals for the calls. And as you will see on the websites, particularly the Research Council website, and also on Norad's website for this, and I know Innovation Norway also has a website with information, you will see that there are also For instance, for the health goal, there are also priorities within that rather broad goal. But I think if you want to single out something, one thing that is quite recurrent is youth as a target group. It is something we're seeing also among other development cooperation partners all over the world, that the youthful populations and the need for prioritizing interventions also targeting youth is becoming ever more imminent. There is a lot and has always been a lot targeting children, but youth is an incredibly important target population, as they will be making decisions very soon. Yes. So, but I'm sure you're all familiar with this, but I just wanted to stress that there's a lot of thinking that has gone into what we have arrived at here. And it's thanks to the outlines that you have sent in. As Jesper mentioned, there are some geographical limitations, but and the main one is that we will give priority to projects in what is called priority countries for Norwegian development assistance. It is the 12 countries we have listed here. You will see that many of these are fragile states, fragile and conflict affected, and some are more stable countries. But these are quite complex countries to work in, and I'm sure many of you among the private sector particularly, are reflecting that these are not the markets you would normally be looking at. And that is also one of the reasons why we really want to see if we, through these mechanisms we have announced now, can encourage you to form the partnerships that would allow you to take those steps and try out new and difficult markets. And of course, what is a market? A market can also be a big humanitarian organization, the UN system. So there are many types of markets involved here. And I'm sure Innovation Norway will be, I don't know how much they will be saying about it today, but this is the type of knowledge they're very strong on. And also, if you are sitting with fantastic project concepts, and they are not within these 12 countries, there is an opening for what we have called particularly strategic projects. Of course, it will be up to you to tell us why they are so strategic in all of the 85 countries that have a development cooperation with Norway. So I think I'll stop here because the agenda is running faster than me. So stay tuned for the presentations that will follow now. Make sure to network. I mean, I see some terrific exchanges of ideas every time I think we have meetings about these types of projects. So there are really many skilled people in this room. I know some of you from earlier. And so please use the opportunity here. The conference is also streamed. And as Marianne said, questions can be sent via Twitter using the hashtag Vision 2030. And also, it's possible to send questions afterwards via email, of course. So please continue to stay engaged, and it's up to you now what we will have in these calls. Thank you.